Hey, we're live. 10 seconds in. Sponsors on the ticker. The Tilshire Report podcast brought to you by Saucer Realty and Capital for your real estate needs in North Florida. Also, the MadMaxMix.weebly.com and Mad Max's Wednesday night request show, and also by Lake Eufaula Hits JC's Thursday night live from the pub show at Lake Eufaula Hits, LakeEufaulaHits.com. Great internet radio where it's all good. So we thought we'd come by and talk about the games this weekend. I didn't give you a chance. I didn't give you a chance to get the Army Navy pick for me, but I did pick Navy in the football pool, which I made that pick on Friday, like a day before the game. But we didn't get a chance to get it out here to you due to time constraints. I did pick Navy. The spread was 6.5 points. Army was the favorite. And you kind of thought they would be because, they won their conference championship. Navy was in their conference. I think Navy finished maybe third in the conference. Army finished first. I guess Tulane was number 2 or thereabouts. Florida will play Tulane in the Gasparilla Bowl. Everything to be pointed toward Navy really coming out and playing like it was their Super Bowl, even though the Army-Navy game is big for both academies. There's no doubt about it. But Army won the conference. Now, they're going to always revel with that conference championship trophy. They won the American, I guess it's the AAC title they won. And can you imagine that being one of the academies and winning a conference? Though it be, a lot of people certainly consider AAC mid-major. Florida's going to play Tulane, who lost to Army in the title game. Got the coffee up this morning. Coffee brewing, as we say, at World Headquarters. Thank you for being here. Army lost to Navy. The only reason why I picked Navy is I said, man, Navy's got something to play for. Another intangible was Navy did not have to play that week. They got a week off because Army was playing in the conference championship game. And one year, Alabama won a national title because they didn't have to play in the SEC championship game. Well, I mean, that's not the only reason. They had a real good football team. They won the games they had to win. But sometimes timing is everything. Who you're playing, weather conditions. I think we saw the weather conditions come into play with the Thursday night game. Was it the Thursday night game I'm talking about? I picked San Francisco. Everything pointed in sports biorhythms and everything else at San Francisco at home. Their quarterback's back playing. But here's the thing. People that really are on the winning edge or winning side of things, man, they're following everything up to the weather conditions. There was not good weather conditions in that game. I'm going to give Les Snead, general manager, some credit. He put that team together. Gosh, I wish Sean Conley go after him. 8-6. This was not even a year that I think they were expected to be in the playoffs, but they're in the hunt for a playoff spot. They're 8-6. So the LA Rams are probably going to be, I'm guessing they're going to be in the playoffs. They are, the Jags are not. Jacksonville Jaguars 10. The Jags will play the Jets this weekend. They're also 3-10. Jets to begin interviews for a new GM. That's what I'm, one of the side notes I've got here. Jets to begin interviews for GM search this week, starting with ex-Titan Robinson. He was, I think, a GM before, I believe. Looks like Bucky Irving is going to play today. Buccaneers running back Irving. What's his name? Bucky Irving expected to play versus the Chargers. He's on one of my fantasy teams, Yahoo. He has been really an up and down player, but he's been a guy that can grab some points. I should have had O'Dunsey in my lineup last week in the Yahoo League because at the last moment, McConkey didn't play. Travis Hunter won the Heisman Trophy. Congratulations to him. I know he'll be a high pick. He'll be a top 5 pick. is he picked 1, 2, 5, or even later than that. And it's not always guaranteed, as you know, that a Heisman Trophy winner will be a great NFL player. Asked a guy like Desmond Howard, he won the Heisman Trophy too. Meanwhile, Charles Woodson became a great NFL player. He won a Heisman. That was an interesting era where Desmond Howard won a. Well, I'm sorry. The era I'm talking about now is the era where Charles Woodson won the Heisman. Peyton Manning did not. Peyton Manning got beat out by Danny Werfel from Florida. Then he got beat out by Charles Woodson from Michigan. And Peyton never won a Heisman, but he had a great NFL career. He won, 2 Super Bowls, one with the Colts, one with the Broncos. Taking a look at some things going on. Let's see. There's something about NFL. You should go to NFL.com's got some pretty good stuff on fantasy matchups and mismatches and things like that. But when we talk about the Jaguars, and that's what we're here to talk about, the NFL Jacksonville Jaguars, they're 3-10. They got the Jets at home. There could be some rain out there as you talk about weather. The game Thursday night, I picked San Francisco. Everything said to me San Francisco would win that game and cover that game. And we never know what's going to happen in a game. Exactly. Well, you're not supposed to, right? San Francisco was a 2.5-point favorite. They were at home. I picked them to cover that. I thought they'd win by at least 3 or 4 points over the Rams. Les Snead, the Rams GM, man, he's done a great job. I wish Shad Khan to go after him. That's where your money needs to be spent, Shad, getting a new GM. Then the new GM, you don't need to fire or hire coaches anymore. Hire you a GM that's a current NFL GM that's looking for a new challenge. Talking about one of the top, say, 5 to 10 to 15 GMs in the National Football League. Because I think if you go for Balky and they make Peterson the scapegoat and Balky fires Peterson, this is how it's going to come down. It's either going to be Balky firing Peterson or Shad Khan and the Jags brass firing Trent Balky. That's kind of how I believe it's going to go down. NFL scoreboard from the Thursday night game. It was a little bit Pop Warner. What do I say? Pop Warnerish. 12-6 game. The Rams won over San Francisco 12-6. I did not have a chance to watch this game, but I did hear there was inclement weather, some rain or what have you, and it kind of kept the score down. If you played the under, you were in good shape on this one. If you picked the Rams, you were even in better shape. LA Rams 12, San Francisco 49ers 6. And yes, indeed, that was the Thursday night game. That was about 3 days ago. That was the Thursday night game, and it was back on December the 12th. Pop Warner score, kind of. LA Rams 12, San Francisco 49ers 6. A final. There's a lot of good games today. Again, we did pick Navy. We did actually pick Navy to beat Army, or at least get within the 6.5 points. Army was a 6.5-point favorite. Navy won the game 31-13. College football playoffs are all set. 12 teams are in there. And what are there? Three teams from the SEC, and that's how we thought it would and should break down. I think that last spot might have come down between SMU and Alabama. SMU had a better record. Plus, SMU did play in their conference championship game, although they lost to Clemson. And that was probably the root of all evil for Alabama when Clemson won that title game. If SMU wins a title game, Clemson doesn't go to the playoff. And then the 12-team playoffs looking for another team, and it could have possibly been Alabama at that juncture. We do appreciate you tuning in. You are listening and watching the Teal Shirt Report podcast. We want to thank a new entrant into the EAFL Semi-Pro Football League, the Florida Jaguars. I think they spell it with a Z on the end, I believe, or at least on their website they do. I had a chance. I was invited over to the place on the west side of Jacksonville, SOS Academy, where they had their kind of their meet and greet, but it was more of a media day, and we did a chance to sit down and talk to some of the players over there, and that was a lot of fun. So we do want to thank Kyrie. Some people call him sir, but we want to thank Kyrie for having us over there. He's basically the owner slash GM of the team, and they'll be playing in the EAFL. I understand the Argyle Avengers are not continuing, but the Florida Jaguars are an entrant in the EAFL. And I think there's, probably end up being 3 or 4, maybe as many as two, probably 3 or 4 teams from Jacksonville and Northeast Florida, be some South Georgia teams. I think even a team from Alabama. I think the EAFL has kind of stretched up as far as Tennessee as well. And I know some of those games were actually, I think one of the Georgia teams played their games across the state line at up in South Carolina. And we know a lot of the semi-pro football players. We'll cover it to the best of our ability, try to see some of the games in 2024. Semi-pro football is kind of like, they kind of, it's similar, spring to summer football, kind of like the XFL was, the USFL in the early days, and it's basically spring, early summer football. So we enjoy these guys play for the love of the game. We got a chance to meet a lot of these guys. They all have interesting stories. Some have played high school ball, some have not. Some have played college ball, some have not. Some have played semi-pro football, some have not. There's some guys on the semi-pro football rosters that are in their 30s. I think Charles Keach, a guy we talked to and interviewed yesterday, real friendly guy, interesting character. I think he's in his 40s and still plays semi-pro football. He's kind of a slim wide receiver. We'll talk NFL, the games today. We were on the money with the Navy pick in the football pool. We were off with San Francisco picking that one. LA Rams GM Les Snead put that team together. Now, all of a sudden, a lot of people didn't think they'd be a contender. They're at least a team that's going to be in the mix for a playoff spot. And if you pull up the NFL standings, San Francisco, all of a sudden, with losing to the Rams, they are having really a down year. Let me pull up the NFL standings. Jags are 3-10. The Jets are 10. Donald Trump, the incoming president, was at the Army-Navy game. Vice President Vance was there too. And that's a historic game, Army-Navy, every year. It really is. I'm going to take a look at the standings. Let me see if I can find the standings in the NFL. I should be able to find those, right? Let's take a look at the standings. I was amazed to see the 49ers, how many games they've lost. Buffalo Bills have got the AFC East wrapped up at 10-3. Closest team to them are the Miami Dolphins at 6-7. Buffalo's going to be in the playoffs. We've got double-digit wins at 10. Our executive producer, JC, loves him some Buffalo Bills. That's his team. The Buffalo Bills are 10-3. Buffalo lost to the Rams a couple of weeks ago, 44-42. And that was after a snow game when the Buffalo Bills buried San Francisco in the snow. I would say Miami's got a shot at a wild card if they go on a little run here at the end of the year. Miami is 6-7, but they might have to win out to get a wild card, or at least maybe they could get one if they won 3 out of their last 4 games. Maybe Pittsburgh Steelers on top. I think they're a pretty good football team, not a great football team, but they've done a good job at winning close games, and that's what you have to do in the National Football League. Jaguars play the Jets today at 1 o'clock. We'll keep an eye on the monitor. We'll watch most of the game. And I'm not one of these guys that throws stuff at the TV, but if you're a Jaguars fan, you might have done that. And I don't recommend you doing that at home. Pittsburgh Steelers are probably going to win the AFC North. They're 10-3. Baltimore Ravens are 8-5. Cincinnati Bengals, a disappointing 5-8. If they win out, they can still go 9-8. I don't really expect that to happen, but they got a good quarterback in Joe Burrow. I was looking down the list. Cincinnati, they're an interesting team. That if you have a week where you don't pick them, you might regret it in football pools. Um, I did not pick Cincinnati this week. Let me see. Cincinnati's on the road at the Tennessee Titans. Cincinnati's a 4.5-point favorite. They need to win this game more than the Titans do. I just got a feeling, man, that they have weird games up in Nashville. The Jaguars won up there. What was it, 10-6 last week? I think the Titans somehow figure out a way to get at least, even if they lose by 1 or 3 points, and they're still a good pick in the football pool. I'm going to take the Tennessee Titans at home. I missed the 49ers Rams pick. I did go with San Francisco, and that was a mistake. I'm going to take the Titans at home to get under the 4.5 points. Cincinnati's a 4.5 point favorite in the football pool. This was a tough one. Washington Commanders and New Orleans Saints. Washington has everything in the world to play for. They got a good rookie quarterback. They're a pretty good football team. And they should, by all intents and purposes, game, but they are on the road against New Orleans. This could be kind of a trap game for the Commanders. They're a 7-point favorite over the Saints. I'm gonna go with them. I'm gonna go with the Washington Commanders and the really good rookie quarterback. And the Saints defense is not that good. They were good when the season started and kind of went downhill. Every now and then, though, the Saints can go on a point barrage and score some points, which surprises a lot of people. But I'm going to take the Commanders. I'm saying the Commanders are going to win that game by 10 points. I have to hope they do because I picked them in the pool. New York Jets and Jaguars. Man, Jets a 3.5 point favorite. I probably should have gone Jags in this one because the Jags have been, even in games they've lost, they've actually lost by less than the point spread. I got a feeling the Jets come away with a win today, and that probably seals some fates of Coach. I think Coach Peterson will not return. Before we even get to the coaches, I think you need to change at the top of GM, and I hope Shad Khan will finally. I've realized this. I've been following the Jaguars since '93, even before they started playing games, and I've watched and watched and watched. We've had two playoff, and the whole time Shad Khan's been the owner since like 2012. The Jaguars have had two playoff. They've had two playoff appearances, is what I'm trying to say. In gosh, it's 12 years. Two playoff appearances in 12 years. And I think with a guy like Balky being the GM, I think you can. There's no way you can't have at least one or two playoff appearances in 1 or 2 years, but you need a more consistent GM. I look at Les Snead's record. I look at the way he's drafted. He likes SEC players. He's actually from the South, and he was a scout for the Jaguars in the early days of the Jacksonville Jaguars as a young guy, probably in his 20s, way back when. And now he's still at a young enough age where he could come be a GM for a team like the Jaguars. I know he's got to be making a lot of money as a GM for the Rams, but I don't know his contract situation. I really don't. But if I'm Shad Khan, I think most all these guys have an out at the end of the year where they have a window, I'm guessing, where they can, if they want to take another opportunity, that there's a possibility or at least a window. And that's if I'm Shad Khan, and I'm not Shad Khan. I don't have the billions and billions of dollars that Shad Khan does. But if he wants to win, get a GM and let him run the football operation. Really. Not you, Shad, not your son. You guys hire a good GM. Maybe you have a committee of people that try to find a GM, but it's got to be one of the top 5 to top 15 GMs in the NFL, current GMs. We all see Bill Belichick went to North Carolina. There were rumors Bill might come to Jacksonville. I think that would have been a colossal mistake. I think North Carolina might be that type of college, that type of mid-level Division I program. I'm not saying mid-major. I'm saying mid-level where they do go to bowl games. They can contend for a conference title. They have a real good year. They can get to a playoff. Bill has a contract that's very incentive laden. I looked at the contract. I don't really want to discuss it much, but the more he wins, the higher he gets ranked, the further he goes in the potential playoff years. Bill Belichick can make a lot more money. He's got a 5-year contract, Bill Belichick, with UNC now, with the North Carolina Tar Heels, with their football program. It's guaranteed, I believe, for 3 years, but it is a 5-year deal. But I think both parties can get out of it, after 3 years. If an NFL team comes along and says, Bill, we want you to coach for us. We know you want to break some of these records. You want to try to break Don Shula's record, et cetera. I'm sure there's an out for him to leave. No doubt. Just like Les Snead. No matter how good the contract, no matter how much the money, there's an out somewhere at the end of the year for a handful of days where, hey, if there's an opportunity I want to pursue, I can pursue it. Shad Khan, that would be my, that would be what I'm doing. If you haven't already fired Doug Peterson, I'd fire the GM first. I'd fire the GM first and then let the GM hire the coach. When a new GM comes in, it's going to be a brand new scouting department. It's going to be all brand new scouts, and that'd probably be a good thing. I think it would be. You look at the record of this team, 3-10. The Jacksonville Jaguars, 3-10 in 2024. They ended up 1-5 the last 6 games last year. This looks very much like Balky's last 2 years that he was in San Francisco after Harbaugh had left, right? So I'm going to put my opinion out there. I think I hear a little bit of sprinkling rain outside. We do have about a 30% chance of rain on Sunday, December the 15th. I think it may rain in the morning hours, in the afternoon hours, maybe around football time, but it'll clear out. It'll be clear to partly cloudy. Looks like we've got some clouds this morning, but it's going to become clear to partly cloudy here in Jacksonville, Florida. World headquarters, where, we're probably about 7-8 miles from the stadium here at World headquarters. I think the internet's running slow. I pick up my coffee mug, and 5 seconds later, you can see it. So the internet has slowed down some. So I hope that doesn't affect the broadcast or podcast, if you will, that much. I've got the sponsors on the ticker. You can see those. Teal Shirt Report podcast is brought to you by Saucer Realty and Capital, the Mad Max Mix.weebly.com, and Max's Wednesday night request show, and also by Lake Eufaula Hits and JC's Thursday night live from the pub show at LakeEufaulaHits.com. Great internet radio where it's all good. So real quickly now, we'll run down the picks for you for the NFL teams, NFL games. We're taking the Titans to get under the 4.5 points Cincinnati's favored by. Washington Commanders, we're taking them to cover 7 points on the road. That may be tough, but maybe New Orleans is just kind of said, hey, we're packing our bags. And some teams do that. New York Jets, I'm going to pick the Jets. I rarely pick against the Jaguars, even during losing seasons. I mean, I'm going to take the Jets. The Jets are favored by 3.5. The Jets win this thing by 4 to 7 points. And if that does happen, you've reached an all-time low at 3-11. And I don't know. I mean, maybe you're better off letting Balky earn his money and just finish the season, then blow him out at the end of the year. He's got to go, though. There's no playoffs this year. The team went 1-5 at the end of 2023. Les Snead would be my guy that I approached. If Les Snead, you can't get him, the next guy on the list, but let's get a current GM that's experienced and has put together consistently winning programs that, at least, if nothing else, they at least contend for a playoff spot almost every year. That's what the Jaguars need. I'm taking the Jets to cover the 3.5 points. This is in Jacksonville. There'll be some rain out there, sprinkles, maybe not a lot of rain. Field could be a little wet, but we'll see what happens. We know about clouds and rain in Jacksonville. It is going to clear out later today, become clear to partly cloudy. Very comfortable temperature-wise, 73 for the high. This morning's low was I think it was 58, I believe. So we're going to take the Jets. We're going to take the Chiefs, Cleveland Browns, man. That's one of those crazy teams. They haven't won hardly any games at all. They did beat the Jags earlier in the year, but we're going to take the Chiefs. The Chiefs have not been covering the spread the last month or so. We're going to take the Chiefs this time to cover the spread. The Chiefs are 4.5-point favorite. We see the Chiefs winning by a touchdown over the Cleveland Browns. Houston Texans, they might put an end to any type of playoff hopes the Dolphins may have at 6-7. I think the Texans put them out of their misery in Houston today. Houston will cover the 2.5-point spread they're favored by. I got the New York Giants playing a good game today. They don't win, but they get under the 14.5-point spread. Baltimore does not win by more than 14.5 points. I'm going to take the Giants. The Giants are at home. Going to take the Carolina Panthers over the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas is beat up. They lost their quarterback. The backup's not bad, Mr. Rush, but I'm going to take Carolina. Carolina is actually a 2.5-point favorite at home over the Dallas Cowboys. And Carolina was probably the worst team in the NFL last year. We're going to take Carolina to cover the 2.5 points at home against Dallas. We're going to take Detroit to cover the 1.5 points against the Buffalo Bills. By all accounts, I'm funny about that one. I think some of the biorhythms and feelings and comparisons, and the Buffalo Bills have had a lot of highs and lows, a lot of ebbs and flows the last month for the Buffalo Bills, but still a great record. They're going to win their division. Detroit, what is Detroit? 12-1? Let me double check that. That is unbelievable when you think about it. The Detroit Lions are 12-1. Minnesota's 11-2. I think Detroit and Minnesota both might win today. If they both lose, it wouldn't surprise me. They both have great records. They're both going to be in the playoffs. And we're about 27 minutes in. We'll probably just give you the picks here. Then we'll come back with some North Florida entertainment. Talk some high school football. Reigns got beat by Northwestern. Reigns was 13-0 from Jacksonville. They went down to Miami and played in a high school football state championship, and they lost. Northwestern must be just so good. Northwestern 41, Jacksonville Reigns nothing. We got the rest of most of the high school football playoff scores up on our website at bigjreport.com. Again, Northwestern 41, Jacksonville Reigns nothing. That is a very surprising and disappointing loss when you lose 41-0 in a state championship high school football game. That is that is 3A classification. Okay, so we're going to take Detroit to cover the 1.5 points at home over Buffalo. That could be a really good game, too. Philadelphia Eagles to cover 5.5 over Pittsburgh. Philadelphia is at home. We'll take the Eagles. I think Pittsburgh's due to lose. Denver with Coach Sean Payton, who I wish we'd have got him in Jacksonville. He's in his third year with Denver, and you have seen the team get better and better and better at Denver, and they're going to be in the playoffs this year. I look for Denver to cover the 4.5-point spread over the Colts. Arizona is much better than they were last year. Arizona will cover the 4.5-point spread over the Patriots. LA Chargers at home play Tampa Bay. LA is a 3-point favorite. I think LA can win this game, but I think I might be closer than 3 points. It might be a 1-point game. I'm going to take I hate to pick against Tampa Bay because, man, they burn me every time I go against them. I'm going to take Tampa Bay on the road against the LA Chargers. And this could be the colossal mistake of the football pool. I'm going to take the Seattle Seahawks. Green Bay Packers are on the road in Seattle. Tough place to play. Green Bay is a 3-point favorite. I'm getting 3 points. We'll take Seattle. We'll take the Vikings to cover against the Bears. This one could go either way as far as the spread, but I think the Vikings win the game. Vikings is right at 7-point favorite. We'll take the Vikings to cover. And the Atlanta Falcons playing the Las Vegas Raiders in Vegas. Atlanta's a 4.5-point favorite. Let's look for the Falcons to play well and win the game by a touchdown, and the Falcons cover the 4.5 points on the road. Those are Monday night games too. The Falcons game at Las Vegas is a Monday night game at 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. Chicago Bears at Minnesota Vikings, 8 o'clock p.m. kickoff in Minnesota. So the Minnesota Vikings, I'm going to take Minnesota on Monday night and take the Falcons. And we're going to take the Falcons to cover the spread on Monday night as well. It's going to do it for the Teal Shirt Report podcast. Just giving you our picks this time around. We'll be back a little later. The Teal Shirt Report podcast brought to you by Salsa Realty and Capital, the MadMaxMix.weebly.com, and by Lake Eufaula Hits. JC has his live from the pub show on Thursday nights. We've been eloquently produced by our executive producer, JC. Also by Alex Nunnery. Thank you so much for everything. Our executive producer, JC, thank you. And John Gaylor, our correspondent and contributor. Thank you so much, John Gaylor. There's our picks for the NFL. On the honor program, I will tell you, I did pick Navy. We didn't get a chance to get it out here to you as far as the pick goes, but I did pick Navy. Also, I picked San Francisco to lost that one, so we're 1-1 so far in the football pool this week. We got Navy right, but we got San Francisco wrong against the Rams. You guys have a great day. This has been the Teal Shirt Report podcast, episode show number 69. We'll be back here in a little bit on the Teal Shirt Report podcast. I am your host, Scott. Thank you for watching and listening.